Hello, and welcome to Inner Spark, the place where powerful stories ignite inspiration and help you see life through a new lens. Today's story is called When Life Gives You a Hard Choice, a tale of courage, doubt, and the strength to make decisions when everything feels uncertain. This story follows two friends, Adrian and Callum, as they navigate a crossroads that tests their values, trust, and dreams. Along the way, life throws them unexpected challenges and forces them to decide between comfort and growth. What they choose changes everything. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need a spark today. Adrian had always been the steady one, the kind of person who never rushed into anything. He lived in Manchester, worked at a small architecture firm, and believed life was about being practical. Callum, on the other hand, was fiery, unpredictable, and full of bold ideas. He'd jump at opportunities, even when he didn't know where they would lead. Their friendship was built on balance. Adrian provided grounding, while Callum brought color. But one chilly evening, as they sat in a quiet cafe, a hard choice entered their lives, one that neither of them could escape from. The cafe was dimly lit, rain tapping against the window, when Callum leaned forward with an excited grin. He had been offered a chance to move to New York to join a groundbreaking design firm. For him, it was the dream of a lifetime. The problem was, the company wanted him to bring someone reliable along, someone who could handle the structural side of projects. That someone was Adrian. "Mate, this is our chance," Callum said, his voice trembling with both hope and fear. Adrian stirred his tea slowly, unsure if excitement or dread was filling his chest. Adrian's life in Manchester was safe. His parents lived nearby. He had colleagues who respected him, and his flat was modest but comfortable. The thought of leaving all that stability terrified him. "I don't know, Callum," he muttered. "New York is huge. What if we fail?" Callum's eyes flashed with determination. "What if we don't? What if this is the thing that changes everything?" That single question kept echoing in Adrian's head. The easy road was staying where he was. The hard road was stepping into the unknown. Days turned into restless nights as Adrian wrestled with the decision. He found himself staring at the ceiling, imagining skyscrapers towering over him, the chaos of yellow taxis, the noise of ambition in the air. But then he'd think of Sunday dinners with his mom, the familiarity of the pub where he and Callum watched football, the cobblestone streets that felt like home. His heart wanted adventure, but his mind clung to certainty. The hard choice was beginning to feel heavier than he ever imagined. Meanwhile, Callum grew impatient. "You're always holding back, Adrian," he snapped one evening. "Every time life throws you a chance, you find reasons to say no." Adrian shot back, his voice sharper than he intended. "And you're always chasing things without thinking about the cost." The room fell silent. It wasn't just about New York anymore. It was about the kind of men they wanted to become. Adrian hated conflict, but he couldn't deny Callum's words stung with truth. For the first time, their friendship felt fragile. One Saturday, Adrian took a train to the coast to clear his mind. He walked along the windy cliffs, staring out at the wild sea crashing against rocks. The waves reminded him of choices, relentless, powerful, impossible to control. He asked himself, "If I don't take this leap, will I regret it when I'm old?" The thought tightened in his chest. Regret was something he feared more than failure. And yet, comfort whispered softly, tempting him to stay where things were safe. Back in Manchester, Callum packed in frustration. "I'll go with or without him," he muttered. He didn't mean it cruelly, but his dream was too big to shrink. He looked at a photo of them both at university, young and fearless, designing buildings on scraps of paper in the library. He remembered how Adrian once said, "We'll change skylines someday." That memory struck him. Maybe Adrian wasn't afraid of dreams. Maybe he was afraid of losing control. Callum decided to give him one last push. That night, Callum showed up at Adrian's flat with 2 plane tickets. "Tomorrow. One for me, one for you. Decide tonight." Adrian's heart raced. The hard choice had a deadline now. He could feel the walls closing in. He wanted to shout at Callum for forcing him, But deep down, he knew Callum was right. Life never gave you forever to decide. Adrian poured them both a drink, sat in silence, and wondered if this was the moment he had been unconsciously waiting for. Adrian's sister, Emily, visited him later that night. She noticed the ticket on the table. "You've always been the careful one," she said softly. "But maybe careful isn't the same as living. What if this isn't about leaving home, Adrian? What if it's about finding out who you really are?" Her words pierced through him. He hugged her tightly, knowing she had just voiced what he couldn't admit to himself. The weight of the decision pressed harder, but clarity was beginning to form. Sleep didn't come easily. Adrian dreamed of two futures. In one, he stayed in Manchester, safe but restless, always wondering what if. In the other, he walked through Times Square, overwhelmed but alive, with Callum by his side, chasing the very dream they once drew on scraps of paper. He woke up drenched in sweat, his pulse racing. The hard choice had never felt more urgent. He knew dawn would demand an answer, and dawn was only hours away. The morning air was sharp as Adrian walked Callum to the station. Callum tried to stay calm, though his hands shook. "So?" he asked. Adrian paused, feeling the weight of every possible outcome. He looked at his friend, the one who had believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. He thought of the sea, the cliffs, the crashing waves that had reminded him of regret. With a deep breath, Adrian said, "I'll go with you." Callum's face lit up, relief and joy breaking through. The hard choice had been made, but the journey wasn't smooth. New York tested them. Rent was sky high, clients were ruthless, and not every design was accepted. Adrian often doubted if he had done the right thing. Nights were long, and exhaustion set in. But amidst the chaos, something shifted. Adrian realized he was growing in ways Manchester could never have pushed him. He was no longer just a steady one. He was learning to trust himself in storms. The hard choice was hard for a reason. It was shaping him. One day, a massive project landed on their laps. A client wanted them to design a cultural center in Brooklyn. It was the kind of project that could define their careers. But disaster struck. The client demanded a design in 2 weeks, something that usually took months. Callum panicked. Adrian, surprisingly, stepped up. "We can do this, but we'll have to work smarter, not harder." For once, he wasn't the cautious one. He was the leader. Callum stared at him in awe, realizing how much his friend had changed. The 2 weeks were brutal. They barely slept, surviving on takeaway food and adrenaline. Tempers flared, mistakes were made, and at one point Callum almost gave up. But Adrian kept pushing, reminding him of the cliffs and the sea, relentless, unstoppable. "We're not going to break now," Adrian insisted. When they finally presented their design, the room went silent. The client leaned back, then smiled slowly. "This is brilliant." They had done it. Against the odds, the hard choice had led to their defining moment. That night, standing on a rooftop, looking out over the city lights, Adrian thought back to Manchester. If he had chosen differently, this view, this feeling of achievement, would never have existed. Callum raised a glass. "To hard choices," he said. Adrian smiled, realizing that life's hardest choices weren't obstacles, but gateways to becoming who you were meant to be. And sometimes, the twist wasn't about the choice itself, but about discovering the strength you never thought you had. Life will always present us with hard choices, and they rarely come with easy answers. But the truth is, comfort often keeps us still, while challenges force us to grow. Adrian's story shows that stepping into uncertainty may feel terrifying, but it can reveal strengths we never knew we had. Remember, when life gives you a hard choice, it's often an invitation to step closer to the person you're meant to become. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to InnerSpark for more motivational stories that light the path forward.